Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's March 26th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And a quick look at our daily chart. You can see that we pushed right through that midline and turned down again. We pretty much got two measured legs up as well. That's really close, and we turned down again. So to me, it looks like we just have a break outside this channel. This blue one. Originally, I was looking at this green one with a break and a new high, and that's still possible, but it's very possible that this flatter one is is accurate. So I'm leaning towards it. We still could get another push up to retest the high, so we'll see what tomorrow brings. It looks like we're trying to rally a little bit right now, but we actually gapped open at 5 o'clock. It looks like traded down and then have kind of reversed back up. So we'll see what tomorrow brings, what the overnight brings. But there it is on the daily chart. Mostly a bearish day today. But let's flip over to the 2,000 tick chart and we'll take a look at it and go through the trades and we'll wrap this day up. Okay, here's our 2,000 tick chart. We started out in this range and then we broke lower, and as usual it tries to fail first before it actually pushed lower, and it tried again, and then suddenly the bottom fell out of it. And we've got this downtrend working here. There's actually some shorter term ones in here that you don't really know this one's here until you finally catch this high here, and you can kind of see it working off that. There's another shorter term one. Let me give that one a slightly different color here. Working down there as well. And then we get a break. It tries and tries to make, actually we don't get a break there. We get a break here, moves to a new low, and then it reverses. And we actually turned back down into the close, and this open has been kind of wild and crazy. We gapped open, filled that gap pretty quickly, it looks like, and we'll see what happens from here. You can't tell a whole lot about what happens, from 5 to 7 in the evening, but and that's Central Standard Time. So, but anyway, there's the chart. It turned bearish really right after the regular session opened at 8:30. Pushed a little bit to go lower here, and this is where the measured move was, right here. And you can see we bounced there for a minute before it turned lower. But let's zoom in here. We'll go through these trades. There wasn't any real news to be concerned about today. And 7 o'clock came, where was it? Right in here somewhere. It might have been the top bar up here. Yeah, it's right here at this top. And notice you get two legs up. You get a first entry, second entry. And you got this channel working up, close outside, move to a new high. And we'd had some resistance across there, so it's kind of you could almost argue that there's a break higher right there. You can see that resistance across. Let me get a straight line. I don't know why I picked that line. But you can see that resistance across there. And so it's similar to almost like a failed break lower too, but it's a second entry, close outside, new high, bearish bar, that way away from the EMA. I like that one, just taking a second entry and right at resistance right there. Comes down, you get a first entry, then a second entry right there, and you could argue that you can't argue there's a close outside till here, so we don't really have a close outside and new low. And it's actually, there's a move up here that I didn't have marked. And you get a close outside. It tries to make a new high. And it really just makes a triple top, but there's no setup there. Runs down, close outside. We do get a move to a new high here. It's real congested, but there's no setup there either. Runs down, and now it makes a new low down here, but no setup to go long. And you can't go long into this previous resistance. And I didn't mark this one, but you could actually go short right there. Notice the move up, first entry, no close outside that, But we get a close outside here and a new high all in one move. And there's plenty of room back to that EMA. And it is a second entry, and there is more resistance right across here. So you can argue there's a triple test there too. So I like that entry. I don't know why I didn't mark it. I skipped it somehow. Then we turn up, and another chance to go down. And you can treat that kind of like a breakout. Here you're better off to wait on the lower high, which comes here. So I'd like going short right there. And then it just kind of drops and runs right out. You may consider, it's tempting to think about going long right there. And you actually could have gone long here, because it is a higher low, but it looks a little congested across there. It works. It doesn't matter. It still works. You might have had to take a little heat there. I just didn't like that in real time because it looks congested there. And you can see, well, you would have had to ride that out. So, but it's because there's congestion. It breaks higher and fails and comes back. And then you finally get another higher low, and it goes higher. And now you can argue there's a triple test right across there. And this actually breaks lower, fails, turns up, and all in an engulfing bar. Again, it looks really congested, so I marked it green. This one actually takes off. And here I don't think you want to trade the breakout, because we could be headed higher back into the range. But when you get that lower, I mean, you could, if you want to be aggressive, you could consider that one. It's not very far from the EMA. It does turn back down after testing the range support and resistance again. But I just think you got to wait on a lower high right there. And that turns out to be a great move. You get back in the range again here. And that one's, you could consider that one as well. But we haven't tested that really right across there yet. You really, as far as you're concerned, your range was down here. It turns out it's as you get more price action, you can tell it's up here at that point. But when this is going on, you probably would have had this down here, and you're outside that range. So I think you got to wait on another attempt there, and then you probably might have considered moving it up by this time, because you can see it working both sides of that line. But when he closes back in there, and that actually gives you a first entry, second entry. Of course, you're not really looking for a second entry in a range either, but I like that one. It actually pulls back here, but there's not room to get out. Then you get a failed breakout, but no setup. You get a higher low, no setup, and you get a third touch, but you can't go long right into the highs. And then it breaks out and fails and comes back, but it closes back inside. So as long as there's room there, go short right there. And then I'm going to tell you, that one's tempting, but I don't go short there, because that thing could break lower and bounce, you could get a triple bottom across there. It just keeps going, but you don't know that in advance. So I don't think you want to go short right there. Turns back up here. You get the first close outside. It's working up. Close outside on the green one, new high. I think you need a lower high here, and by the time you get it, you can tell it's just congestion there. Don't go short right there. You really never get a break below it anyway, so it doesn't matter. And then it breaks out and fails. And so I like, notice we get a close outside and a new low all in one bar there. Maybe you take that. Again, you're better off to wait on the higher low. Then we got a trend up. You get a close outside, but no new high yet. It tries to make one here and just makes a lower high. So now you got a lower high because it's a double top. And that is a measured move right there. So that's where you would expect prices to probably turn back down. So as long as there's room there, I like going short there. There's another one here that makes a 2-bar matching high. If it had broke higher, maybe, because it's only like 6 ticks. But that's dangerous right there. It's starting to look congested. You got a real small bodied bar, and you can see it does bounce. and turn back down, and it makes a triple top now, and that's the place to go short. Boom. It hesitates a little bit there at support, but it ends up breaking on lower. And then we get a break here of this correction. Attempt to move to a new high, and we get a 1, 2, 3 triple test and a very bearish bar. I like going short there. And that's also, notice the new low, first entry. Technically it breaks lower there, but that's just kind of sideways. So this looks like a second entry here. We didn't get the new high, but it's a lower high, so I think you can take that. And again, you're just looking to retest these lows. You don't know that it's going to really take off like it does. Just first entry there and no break in new high or anything. It's not a good place to go short. And we do bottom out there, and then we just kind of start chopping along. So we got a break in new low there, and we had a break of this one and a couple of swings down to a new low. So this thing should have played out, or you're thinking maybe it's played out. It turns out to be a bigger channel, but at this point, with you getting a double, you really got a 1, 2, 3 triple test here. This looks more like a double bottom really, but it's a first entry, second entry as well. This does, I like going long there. I mean, it depends on where you would have played this. At that point, you might have had it way up here. But it's still a higher low because it makes that double bottom. So I think you're okay there. I don't think you want to go long on this one. But I think you're fine to go long on this one here. And you can see it takes it a second, but it runs up here and it turns down at the high. The only problem with this one is you don't have a close outside the new high yet. It finally gets that close outside. It tries to make a new high and it couldn't. And it actually makes a lower high that closes back in the range. So you could technically take that one, but there's a good chance still that this thing could push up one more time. So I'm not crazy about it, but it closes back in the range. And so you could play that as a range rule. There's plenty of room there. And then we're chopping sideways here. Same thing here, but the signal bar is not good enough. And you might ask about this one. You could see that congestion there. That's tempting. But it ticks one tick higher and turns back down. And that's what happens in congestion. You got to be careful. It fails out the bottom, fails out the top a few times before it finally goes higher. But you do get this bar is so big you can't go short right back into support. But guess what? You get a higher low off this, and you've already pushed through there now. So I like going long there. There's plenty of room back to the highs here, and maybe you go all the way back to the trend line, which it does. And you got a channel working up, close outside. It attempts to go to make a new high, and it makes a second entry short and a lower high right there, the bearish bar. I like going short there. It comes back again here, but it doesn't give you a signal bar. And again, you got a separate channel with inside the bigger channel here as well. This pretty much confirms the bigger channel. It comes right across there, and it confirms it again right here. This thing starts working forward, gets a close outside, and you get a couple of swings up here to a new high, and it turns back down right off that trend line, a big bearish bar. That looks like two measured legs to me. It's close enough. You can see that. So that would be a good place to consider going short now that you've got your close outside and a couple of swings up. And this turns out to be a pretty good move down. Then we start chopping sideways again. You do have a lower high. You got the close outside and the new high, and then you make a lower high back in this channel. But the problem is, this last time we went all the way to the bottom, but a couple of times we bounced there, and this looks a little congested, so it could bounce there again. But the previous swing down, it did go all the way. So there's, maybe you take that. If this would have been closed much higher, closer to the high, you could have taken that. Same thing here. It closes too far to the low, actually outside, and you don't want to trade outside it like that. You would need it to pull back and give you a few tests, and the bottom just drops out. drops out of it here, and you make a low. That looks really congested. Anytime you see three or more bars stacked side by side and at least one of them has no body or a tiny body, that's congestion. Now, you're probably forming congestion here because you're so far away from the EMA and we're overdue to bounce. But trying to pick a bottom is dangerous, and so I don't think you want to try to take that one. Then, of course, you're running up, close outside, move to a new high, and it turns down off that main trend line again, but no signal bar. Drops down, we're just kind of chopping sideways, but we do get a triple test across here and a double bottom, and there's room to scalp out. And you see what happens, it breaks higher, fails, but it doesn't stop you out. It ends up going higher here. So this higher low, if you'd have got a good signal bar, would have been the better place to enter. Then again, you may not have had room to scalp out there, so maybe not. But it runs up, close outside, couple of swings to a new high, makes a double top there, and gives you a bearish bar. I like going short there. Just first entry there, and then you're chopping sideways again. Now you do get a breakout here, and it's a second entry. Notice first entry, and then you get to close outside and the new high all in one bar. And you'll see that a lot on these micro channels. So generally, if everything else is falling in place and you get a good signal bar, you can trade those, but just be careful with them. Make sure everything falls in place and it's a good setup. But I think you can go. I think you want to take that trade. I did mark it green because you're better off to wait on the lower high. You don't really get one here, and it bounces multiple times across here. Again, you do have a close outside here and a new low with a nice bar, but I think you need a higher low there. And you get one here, but there's not room to scalp out there. You can see there's only 5 ticks, and so you can't scalp out there, and guess what? It turns down, would have stopped you out, and then gone exactly where you thought it would go. So that's why you have to be careful and make sure you got room to scalp out. And of course it bounces down here again, but you don't get a signal bar, and off it goes. And we're running up. You get a close outside. It tries to make a new high, turns down. There's actually a and we finally get a close outside here and a new low, and it reverses. I think it's a little too late to be going. I mean, it's 3 minutes into it, and it looks a little sideways anyway, so I don't see anything there I'd want to take. And this is just a little trend down. But you do get a close outside and a new low, and then it bounces from there. But it goes sideways a good bit before it bounces. And that's how I saw it today. So mostly downhill. Pretty much really from about just prior to 9 o'clock, it was downhill from there. It looked like we may be trying to have a range type day here. If we'd have bounced here and held, I would have said your range may have been a little wider, and you know, if it stayed that way. But it just keeps going. Another bearish day. So anyway, that's how I saw it. It's really late. It's almost 8 o'clock before I'm getting this up, so I'm not going to beat around the bush here. I'm going to get this video processed and uploaded for you here shortly, and hopefully I'll have it up before 8:30. But apologize for being late, but I had some things going on today that put me a little late getting started on it. But anyway, hope you had a good trading day. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll wrap up our week tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.